Good morning, sports diehards. Welcome to another edition of the Living Room podcast, a diehard sports radio production. I'm your host, Steve Itzkowitz, aka Speakeasy Steve. Did anything happen in sports this week? Oh, yes, that's right. Mitchell Robinson became a Celtic, and Miles Bridges, the brother of Mikal Bridges, became a Sun, and some other transactions like that. DeAndre Ayton got traded to the Washington Wizards to back up Anthony Davis, apparently. So a lot going on in the NBA this week. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. My bad. LeBron is gone from the Lakers. A new era in Lakers basketball has begun. I was just kidding about the top. Who cares about Mitchell Robinson becoming a Celtic? I said maybe my co-host Jack Angelo will ask about that in a moment. But LeBron is gone, and the Luka Doncic era has been fully ushered into Laker land with Walker Kessler, who the Lakers managed to trade from Utah, giving up a bunch. We'll ask if it was worth it. Sandro Mamu Kelishvili, a free agent power forward center from the Toronto Raptors, coming to the Lakers, giving them essentially twin towers. And Quentin Grimes and Rui Hachimura come back to the Lakers. He's still out there. I thought he was going to end up in San Antonio, but he is still out there, along with Jonathan Kuminga, who's got a lot of talent, but hasn't put it together fully as of yet. Could he be on his way to the Lakers? The Knicks are reshuffling the deck, and just a lot of things going on in the NBA as far as free agency this week, and a trade frenzy in particular. So let's bring on our analyst here, calling in from Orange, Connecticut, in New Haven County, a diehard sports radio long timer, and we call him Batman because every time he states an opinion, he is swinging for the fences. Mr. Jack Angelo, welcome back, Jack. How was your 4th of July? As you can tell, I got beat. I started out with a more white complexion at the beginning of the 4th of July, and now I'm beat red because I was basically on the sun all day. But how was your 4th of July?
It was really too hot to be out in the sun all day. Got some
Mm-hmm.
nasty storms last night to break the heat a little bit. It's still muggy as all hell, but uneventful. Went to the bar, worked last night. So here I am. Good morning. Saw some video footage. I guess hell broke loose on Newport Beach out there last night, and they had to close the beach, and I don't know
Mm-hmm.
what went on. So
Yeah, I don't know what was going on either. Norm and I were hanging out at their parents' beach house on the Newport Back Bay, and there was a helicopter that kept circling around, and they were using such terms as evacuate, shut down Pier 32, shut down Station 32 or whatever it was. But there was a helicopter circling for a while. There was police sirens, coming in on Balboa Boulevard, just into the coastline over there in Newport Beach. I'm not sure what happened either. We don't know if someone drowned or if someone got killed. I'm not really sure. But Norm and I walked the boardwalk yesterday, and that's a big reason why I'm beat red right now, along with announcing a parade yesterday in the Lake Forest 4th of July parade for the second year, which has been a lot of fun for me to take part in for the last couple of years. So that's how the day began. And then Newport Beach, a lot of things were going on over there. But other than that, it was a really, really good day of. I call 4th of July in Newport Beach the ultimate anthropologist holiday, in that you get to really observe people doing
yep.
random things, and Newport Beach is as good a place as any to do that. And Norm and I are just the two older gentlemen kind of walking around in our sunglasses, joking like that we're providing extra security because a lot of younger people running around doing random things, doing God knows what. And so Norm and I were kind of the elder statesmen, like, we've been there before. We've done this before. We walk to the pier, we sit on a bench, we look at the Golden Ocean. Meanwhile, a lot was going on near the pier, near Station 32. And hopefully whatever happened, hopefully whoever was involved, everyone is all right. But the party carried on, or the party went on
There
in
was one
Newport
West
Beach.
Californian out there as Joey Chestnut was in New York, winning
Mm-hmm.
again. I don't know what
Mm-hmm.
part of
Yeah, how many
California.
hot dogs? How many hot dogs? I didn't
I don't
check in
know.
with that because
I haven't watched, but I think he won his 18th. I think that was his 18th.
18
Uh,
straight hot dog eating contest. I'm just wondering if he beat his record from last year, which was 76, which would be an appropriate number to
yeah.
do, is 76, given we're in the 250th anniversary of the United States of America being a sovereign nation. So hopefully everyone had a happy and safe 4th of July yesterday, whether you're in Orange, Connecticut, Newport Beach, Los Angeles, California, wherever you were. Hopefully it
Orange,
was safe
Connecticut
and
to
happy
Orange County,
yesterday.
California.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, that's a connection that we have among other things. But like I said, a lot was happening in free agency this week with the NBA, but probably
And
the biggest
trades.
story of the week is LeBron James letting the Lakers know on June 29th that he is not coming back to the Lakers. The Lakers wanted him back, reportedly. There were no serious contract discussions, just communication kind of back and forth to see if they were going to negotiate. And then LeBron James deciding he's not going to come back. He's going to take his talents elsewhere. Where will he take them? We'll get into that in a moment. But Jack, from the outside looking in, what was your reaction to LeBron James telling the Lakers before free agency officially began that he is out?
The anti Brett Favre and the anti Aaron Rodgers. At least, you know, at least he had the courtesy to do that, and his agent Rich Paul has been on every major podcast talking about it. I was surprised to hear Rich Paul said if the Knicks did not win the chip this year, LeBron was heading right to Madison Square Garden for his final year.
Do you buy that?
Maybe, maybe. I think part of him has always wanted to play for the Knicks. I think, you know, and this isn't homerism talking. I think most players would love to call Madison Square Garden home. It's, not so much in banners, but it's, it's they call it the world's most famous arena, and you'll see most players have career nights when they play against the Knicks at Madison Square Garden. But that's beside the point. I don't think I think LeBron's choices whittle down to 4 teams, which we can get into afterwards. I think it also
kind of the before and after, before LeBron left the Lakers, now in
maybe
the
five
midst of
teams.
that, and now what is going to be a college style recruitment going
Yeah,
from place to
I
place,
have
getting
5 teams,
getting
4 or 5
wined and
teams in
dined and
mind.
all of that good stuff. Like I think he never went to college, so I think that's going to be part of his free agency process. Not to mention that I think he's going to be cutting a documentary on this particular process as part of maybe a retirement tour, but done a little bit differently than, say, what happened with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar during his final season in
Well,
1989.
yeah, LeBron, I think, wanted to change the scenery for him. I think his ceiling with that Laker team had reached where it was going to go. We could talk about what the Lakers did in free agency and whether that gets them far enough. Um, I saw mixed reactions from Lakers fans, not from the national media. I saw mixed reactions from Lakers fans online, on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. So you're our Lakers guy, so we'll really delve into it. But not all Lakers fans think it was a home run. Some think it was an abject failure by the Lakers this offseason. And we'll get, I want to get your read into it. But look, as for LeBron, look, I think no matter where, I think he's destined to go one of two places, and that's Cleveland or Miami. That's just me. There are other teams in the mix. I think he wants to try to go win one more chip. I don't think he thought that was possible with the Lakers. I think he saw the writing on the wall. I mean, you and I have been talking about it for hell, way before this NBA season was settled. I said, watch LeBron James be a Knick next year. I've been saying that for months. This is well before so I think the writing was on the wall for LeBron to leave LA.
Yeah, I think the beginning of the end for LeBron and the Lakers came after the Russell Westbrook trade.
Mm-hmm.
LeBron kind of did his own recruitment of Russell Westbrook, and Rob Pelinka being conciliatory to LeBron and Anthony Davis at the time, viewing them as partners in how the team was built. Obviously, that was a huge disaster. Not only did you trade away 2 key pieces of a championship team in 2020 in Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Kyle Kuzma, and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope went on to win a championship with the Denver Nuggets 3 years later. Kyle Kuzma has been kind of in basketball purgatory since, but he was still a key cog on that particular team, and I think was thriving in the role that the Lakers had him in before he went elsewhere to Milwaukee and then Washington, then Milwaukee. I'm not sure where he is now, but I think that was the beginning of the end for the Lakers because now it got to a point where you had to turn over the roster every single year to maximize LeBron's window, kind of like what the Golden State Warriors are involved in right now with Steph Curry. But these guys have 4 championships. I don't know if they're going
Yeah.
to catch Jordan. You're not going to catch Bill Russell. I don't even think you're going to catch Robert Horry. And the 7 titles that he won is, maybe the best role player we've ever seen in the NBA or the most clutch role player we've ever seen in the NBA. I don't know if he's the best, but maybe the most clutch with all the 3-pointers he's made. But I digress. I feel like this process was set in stone a long time ago. And then the capper, so you have the foundation of, okay, this thing about building a roster around LeBron is not quite working. He's maybe got a little bit too much influence on the front office and on how the basketball team as a whole. LeBron is not a blending kind of guy. He's a guy that wants to dominate at every single level in every single aspect of a team. Um, so you had that was leading all this roster turnover, and then unexpectedly, you trade for Luka Doncic last year.
Yep.
There's your succession plan. The succession plan was supposed to be Anthony Davis. But Anthony Davis, for as good as he is, inconsistent offensively, also a guy
Close
that you
Anthony
can
Davis.
count on to stay healthy for an entire season. He is made of glass, essentially. He's a heck of a player, and I have nothing but respect for him. He won a national championship at Kentucky. He won a championship in the NBA, playing a very integral role for that 2020 Lakers team. Not many guys have won a college championship, an NCAA championship, and an NBA championship. He's one of those guys, a pretty select company of guys who have done that. Therefore, he deserves credit. And if the Warriors do trade for Anthony Davis, I completely understand it. I'm not sure they should, but I completely understand if they were to try to do that and then add LeBron James as a free agent and have
A
the
couple guys
latest
from
four
Villanova also
horsemen,
did that.
have the latest 4 horsemen of the basketball apocalypse, if you will. But I don't think that's going to materialize ultimately. But ultimately, I feel like the beginning of the end of Lakers and LeBron started with the Russell Westbrook trade. You trade away key pieces of a championship team. Then you trade for Luka Doncic. Now you got a succession plan. LeBron was amazing in the final month and a half of the season after Luka and Austin Reeves went down. The Lakers' starting backcourt went down. LeBron definitely picked up the slack along with Marcus Smart and what everyone else was doing. And he deserves a lot of credit for that, which is why he's going to get another chance, which was why he can go to another team and help them win a championship. May not be the band leader per se, and he may have to supplement his ego enough to blend in with a team at this point in his career. He might need teams more than teams might need him, say for a Miami or a Cleveland, but I don't know how that's going to work. And obviously, if he goes to Golden State, that is Steph Curry's team. And there's no mistake. There's no mistake about it because as much as LeBron means to the Cleveland, Steph Curry means as much, if not maybe more so, to the Golden State Warriors, whether they're in Oakland or San Francisco. So he's going to land somewhere and lend a lot of experience, a lot of ability to that team, but he's going to have to understand that he is not the man anymore and has to go in and I'm not saying be a glorified role player, just be a complimentary all-star to whoever the heart and soul of the team might be, like a Steph Curry in Golden State.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, LeBron will have to be Robin at best, if not
Occasionally
number three.
Batman,
You know,
occasionally he'll have to play the
number three.
Batman role.
You know, even with the Knicks, that's Jaylen's team, and I don't. Even with the Knicks, I'm not saying that he's not a better ball player, but just with the chemistry they've built, he wouldn't be a starter. Who are you sitting down? Josh Hart,
Yeah, that's why I
Mikal
don't think he's
Bridges.
going to go there.
I don't think he's going to go there either.
Yeah.
I think Rich Paul said if they hadn't won, he definitely would have. But yeah, you're right. I think I think he ends up with one of a couple of teams. Golden State was one of them. I really do think eventually he ends up back in the East. Even though the East has gotten very interesting with all the movement that's gone on. What with the Celtics, what with the Heat, um,
The Sixers.
the Sixers.
They pulled a little trade this week.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see who comes out of the East. I mean, I think right now, as a Knicks fan, the team I would put at the top of that list is probably Philly, but the Knicks has
And
had so
Toronto
much.
had Toronto as well. They pulled a little trade this week.
They
I
did,
forgot to mention that at the top, but
you
yeah,
know.
the free agency period has been more about trades than it hasn't been about free agent signings. But we kind of predicted that on the pod here that don't judge this free agency season for the NBA just by traditional free agent signings. Guys are
Right.
getting traded, and that's just as exciting and interesting and compelling as a free agent signing is.
Well, we'll hit the Knicks, and the rest of the East in a little while. I want to start with the Lakers today, since you can speak more eloquently to what's happened in LA. I'll start with I want to start with a question based on our text thread between you, myself, and Norm. It seemed you and Norm were very pleased with the Lakers offseason, understandably so. On the surface, I agree with that.
Yeah,
But
I
I
think we're
posed a
moving in the right
question.
direction.
I posed a question to both of you, and you both answered in kind of the same way. I posed a question after the smoke clears for the Lakers. Are they a better team? Yes. But are they good enough to come out of the West? And that includes Minnesota. We'll take OKC and San Antonio as the creme de la creme right now in the West.
Sure.
I think, that's not hard to make that argument. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah, no,
I think LA has inserted themselves into the top four in the West conversation. But I asked you both a question. Are they good enough to beat OKC or San Antonio? And for the most part, without saying no, you both kind of said no. So here's the question. Given the Lakers' offseason move, which cost them all of their money, so to speak. I think their money's
draft,
all locked
draft,
down, and it
draft cap,
definitely,
yeah,
thanks to
draft
Kessler,
cap, draft capital.
they
Obviously,
have zero draft
they're
capital
doing the
until
less
the
need
mid
F them
2030s.
picks, F them
So
picks.
if the question is this, if they are not good enough by your own admission that you don't think they're good enough right now to beat OKC or San Antonio, what is the overall pick? Because making the playoffs every year and being a top four seed might be great if you're the team across town in the Clippers. That's not the Lakers standard. So if you, who knows more about the Lakers than probably anybody I know, are under the belief that they're not there yet in terms of being able to play with San Antonio and OKC specifically, and maybe not Minnesota, we'll see. What is the plan for the Lakers to get back to where they want to get to? And I give you the floor.
Well, I think the plan was initially to get younger and a little bit more athletic, which they've gotten,
Yep.
and to have a team that can grow together. That is not. You often hear about timelines of your star player. In this case, we're talking about the Luka Doncic timeline, who's
Yep.
26.
Yep.
And you have a lot of players. Austin Reeves might be the elder statesman of this team at the age of 28, by the way. So
Yep.
they're all in their 20s. They're either approaching their prime or in their prime. They can all grow together. Not to mention, now we have an ownership staff and a front office that the draft capital they gave up is a risk. Therefore, Rob Pelinka is going to have to nail draft picks, which hasn't always been his forte as far as nailing draft picks. So they're going to have to be a little bit better when it comes to whatever draft picks you might have going forward. You got to make sure you nail those because you essentially gave up all your first round draft picks for a little while unless you get some back. We'll
Yep.
see. We'll see what they're able to do about that. But I think the goal ultimately was to get younger, more athletic, and for everyone to kind of grow together as a team that could eventually develop into a championship team, which I think the Lakers are going to accomplish sometime
Yep.
before the end of the 2030 season. I don't think it's going to happen next year. I don't know if it's going to happen the year after that. I also do know that Oklahoma City has some weaknesses. that were
Yep.
exposed by San Antonio. And I think San Antonio has some weaknesses as well that were exposed by your Knicks. I don't think these teams are rock solid, not to mention, as far as dynasty will go, not to mention the way the NBA works these days with the aprons, the first apron, the second apron. The ability to build a dynastic team now is more difficult than it's ever been in the NBA. We've seen it with 8 straight different championships since Golden State was the last team to repeat back in 2018 against
Yep.
Cleveland. Then we've seen Toronto win it, the Lakers win it, Milwaukee win it, Denver, Golden State
Celtics,
again, Golden
the
State
Knicks,
again, Celtics, Knicks. Who was it? Who was it last year? Oklahoma City.
OKC.
So I like this is the era that we're in. So I think the Lakers are going to make themselves very competitive with a younger, more athletic team that can grow together. They're going to have to be much better on drafting than they have been because now you don't have a lot of draft picks to work with if you're Rob Pelinka. So he's got to get that right. He's got to step up. Otherwise, he might face the same fate with the Mark Walter group, that Ned Colletti faced with the Dodgers before he was replaced with Andrew Friedman, as you may recall. So that's the pressure. So is it 100% perfect? No, but nothing ever is. There's always
Right.
a risk. There's always a loose end that you have to tie up. There's always something that you're going to have to deal with. But
Yep.
ultimately, I think the Lakers, what they've done in this offseason is allowing them to move in a direction where they could have a team that can grow together. So more stability, not all this roster turnover year to year that we've seen the last several years in the LeBron James era with the Lakers that just ended. And I think it's a step in the right direction. Absolutely. Will they win a championship next season? I would not expect it unless a combination of they get good fast, they develop their chemistry fast, and then unfortunate things happen to Oklahoma City and San Antonio. That might be what it takes. That can happen. Look what happened to Oklahoma City. I mean, they weren't that healthy. They didn't have J-Dub for a lot of the playoffs, and they lost A.J. Mitchell, who's doing a great job of making OKC fans not miss J-Dub that much. But he went out
Yep.
too, and that wrecked them in the Western Conference Finals against San Antonio. So it's a step in the right direction. I'm very, very excited. They got their man in Walker Kessler, and then they brought in some additional pieces behind them, and they're still not done as of yet. They're going to add
Well,
a wing
yeah.
with Jonathan Kaminga or maybe Rui Hachimura comes back, but they're not done yet. But I think they're absolutely moving in the right direction. I think there's a reason to be excited in Lakerland.
Well, let's start with the big fish that they came down with in free agency, and that's Kessler. Your thoughts on Kessler and the center position for LA, which was kind of a black hole the last season or two for the Lakers. What are your thoughts on Kessler and competing in the West um, against some of the against Jokic, against Wemby,
Mm-hmm.
against Chet or whoever the hell else they have
Chet
playing
Holmgren, Isaiah Hartenstein.
Hartenstein.
Well, I
Yeah.
think he matches up with all those guys. Others, obviously, we have to see how Wemby develops his body this offseason. That's going to be his major project is to develop his body. A lot like Cameron Carr for the Lakers, going to have to develop his body. It seems to me Wembanyama and Cameron Carr a little too small right now. They need to bulk up a little bit, particularly Wemby. So we'll see how that. But I think Kessler matches up well with Nikola Jokic. He knows Nikola Jokic from playing in the the Northwest Division in the Western Conference. So he's familiar with Denver. He's familiar with Jokic. Has played well against Jokic. I think he matches up with Isaiah Hartenstein. He's more muscular, although not as skilled as Chet Holmgren is, but he'll match up with Hartenstein. And and then you have the Wembanyama factor, which obviously we're going to see how it turns out. But he's big, he's muscular, he grabs every rebound in sight. He is a defensive force. He can defend on the perimeter, but mostly he's going to be used as a rim protector, which is going to be great because allow Austin Reeves and Luka Doncic to try to play aggressive defense. And if they get beat, you got some protection behind you. Not to mention Sanju Mamushkelashvili is also going to help in that regard. And Quentin Grimes is a good on-ball defender and point of attack defender, kind of like Marcus Smart who's on his way to Houston. So you brought in a younger Marcus Smart with Quentin Grimes, but and then a Sanju Mamushkelashvili that gives them additional size of the front court they absolutely needed to compete with the Oklahoma Cities and the San Antonios, and we'll see how Minnesota develops their team. You got Rudy Gobert over there. I think Walker Kessler matches up with Rudy Gobert as well. Could have a similar impact defensively that Gobert could have, minus the Defensive Player of the Year awards that Gobert has in droves. Kessler is that kind of a player. So defensively, you are upgraded, and you upgraded the position of absolute need in the center position. Offensively, he's good on the pick and roll. He'll get putbacks for you. I don't know what kind of a shot he has from the perimeter. I don't think that's a part of his game as of yet, but I think he's going to work on it. And, with Phil Handy, one of the assistant coaches, works on with guys with shooting with the Lakers. So we'll see what kind of an offensive game he could develop maybe outside the paint, but he's great on the pick and roll. He's very good at setting screens. He's going to grab every rebound in sight, and he is going to be the defensive stopper the Lakers absolutely need behind guys like Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves. So I think it's a home run signing no matter what you gave up to get him.
Yep.
What
Did
do you think?
I think he can only I think it's a massive upgrade for the Lakers at center. Not to sound like a homer, I think the Knicks kind of gave the league a blueprint of how to play the Spurs. They really did.
Sure. Yeah.
I think that Wemby got exposed in those finals, not only for needing to bulk up and hit the weight room less than the meditation room
A little passive
or
aggressive at times.
the Zen garden, but he needs to bulk up and he needs to get in shape. How many times in fourth quarter was he sucking air and needed to come out? And then the way he played in the fourth quarter wasn't clutch at all, made silly mistakes, missed fourth quarter free throws all series long, made, just boneheaded plays. So I think Kessler will help. I don't know if the Lakers are going to use, especially with their two guards, I don't know if they're going to use Kessler kind of the way the Knicks started to use Karl Anthony Towns as kind of a hub in the middle and almost to run a point center. I don't know. How is Kessler as a three-point shooter? Can he come out?
No, I that's the thing. I don't know what kind of a perimeter game he has. I don't think that's a part of his repertoire. I think
So
that's
he might
something
not be
he
able to do
needs to
that.
develop. So I think for Kessler, when the Lakers run their pick and rolls, he's going to be the pick guy. He's going to set the pick, set the screen. Either he's going to roll to the basket, or he's going to allow for passer on the perimeter, kind of go this way, then reverse it, spread
Yep.
the defense out. So the Lakers are going to have to, make shots this year from the perimeter, which with guys like Doncic and Austin Reeves should not be an issue, along with Quentin Grimes and also Colin Sexton, another player the Lakers brought in, who's going to be a dead-eye shooter off the bench for the Lakers. I thought that was a good signing by them.
Yep.
So, yeah, I picture Kessler more not as a three-point guy, but more as a pick-and-roll guy, rolling towards the basket or freeing up the perimeter just enough to spread the defense out and create open shots along with cutting and slashing lanes for players of that ilk.
I agree. Now you started to mention before. What are your thoughts? After a lot of this, there might be some addition going on or addition by subtraction. What are your thoughts on two aspects which we saw became pivotal in excuse me in this year's playoffs? What are your thoughts on the Lakers' wing play, and what are your thoughts on the Lakers' depth, their bench play? We saw both of those. In order to beat OKC and San Antonio, you're going to need both. So speak for a little what your thoughts are on their wings and their depth.
Well, they're going to need to add another wing. That's where, possibly bringing in Jonathan Kuminga or bringing back Rui Hachimura. I think they need another forward wing to kind of round that team out. Obviously, they're bigger on the front court, center-wise, power forward center. They should be good there, but they need to add another wing to go along with guys like Cameron Carr, who's going to need to develop along with Quentin Grimes, I should say. Quentin Grimes, Cameron Carr. Quentin Grimes is probably going to be the starter, I would imagine, unless they bring in a guy like Rui or Kuminga, but I think those guys would be good coming off the bench. So one more wing is what they're going to need. They are a deeper team now. There's no question about it because you're bringing Sexton off the bench, and I'm trying to remember. They lost Jackson Hayes to Utah in free agency. He went the other way, almost like a trade involving him and Kessler. So he went the other way. So you need another backup center. The Lakers still have a mid-level exception that they could utilize. They're looking at Richards, who we talked about on the text thread about free throw shooting for big guys like Andre Drummond, who just signed with your Knicks, and of course,
Yeah.
Of course, who else are we talking about that as a poor free throw shooter? But
Well, Mitch is awful.
Mitchell Robinson, yeah, who just signed with the Celtics. So they need to bring in another center. So right now the deficit has got to be rounded out in terms of having a backup center and adding another wing. But I think Colin Sexton coming off the bench as a shooter is going to be going to be good. And then we'll see if Tierra Fury, their draft pick from last year, can develop a little bit along with Cameron Carr. So I think there's still work to be done on depth coming off the bench. But I think the starting five is going to be much better than this starting five. And ultimately, when they sign a backup center and they get another wing player onto the roster, that they should be able to go 8, 9 guys deep, especially if they can extend out Jared Vanderbilt's contract, who's still on the Lakers, but they're trying to either extend his contract and kind of space it out like they did with Lowell Deng several years ago, or let him go outright because he and JJ Redick are not getting along. So a little work to be done depth-wise, backing up certain positions, but overall, I think they're a team that can go 8, 9 deep once the roster is pretty much complete.
Would you be interested in a guy like DeMar DeRozan, who's supposedly going to get cut?
Absolutely. That's a guy we're bringing on a mid-level exception. $15 million a year for a dead-eye shooter? Why not? But you bought a Colin Sexton for that, so that being said, you still need a starter, so you can start him at the 3, and then maybe bring guys like Grimes off the bench along with Sexton, along with, Cameron Carr if he develops his body. I wouldn't mind that at all. That is a very ideal way to use your mid-level exception if he was available. And he's a dead-eye
Supposedly he's going to
shooter.
be. Supposedly he's going to be.
Would he be willing coming off the bench though? That's the thing, because he's been a career starter. So would he be willing to come off the bench, or possibly if they want to start Grimes instead? DeMar DeRozan doesn't fit the timeline of this team. Ultimately, he's in his 30s at this point, so that might be a hindrance to him. But would I look into that if I was the Lakers? Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's, we know where the Lakers are. Let's run around the league a little bit, and I really want, your thoughts. Let's stay in the West before we get to the East. Um, let's start with OKC. Their off season, at least thus far, and where you think they stand next year.
Well, I got to see what happens with Lou Dort. I thought he was going to get away. They picked him up, but they're into the second apron now, so I'm wondering if he's going to get traded. They're bringing back Hartenstein, which I would agree with. For OKC, really, it's a matter of health. Theoretically, if J-Dub and AJ Milton are healthy next season, pending what they do with Lou Dort,
Yep.
I think they'll find themselves back in the finals. I really do. Or San Antonio. It's going to probably be one of those two teams. So Oklahoma City's whole thing this offseason is getting healthy and figure out what to do with Dort. And to say that second April, they also had a very good draft as well, adding more size to the front court, getting the tallest player in the draft. So this team drafts better than any other team. So whatever they do with Dort, chances are. And Wiggins got away. He's gone. Deep off the bench, but he could be a starter elsewhere. Like they have a starting 5 in Oklahoma City coming off the bench, and Wiggins was a part of that, so he's out. We'll see what they do with Dort. I think a trade is coming, but they had another very good draft in theory. We'll see, how those players actually play ultimately. But the key for Oklahoma City, I think, is health. Keep J-Dub healthy. Keep AJ Mitchell healthy. You'll have Hardenstein. You've got continuity for the most part. Off the bench, you still have Alex Caruso, and Isaiah Joe is also gone from the team, but that was predictable. You still got most of your core intact.
Yeah,
I just got to monitor what's going on with their health, along with what they're going to do with Lou Dort now that they picked him up. And he's still on the roster, but they're going into the second April, which I think they're going to want to try to get out of because I'm not sure Sam Presti, the general manager, has an appetite for that.
Yeah. What about San Antonio?
A little bit more depth. I think a backup center. I like Luke Cornett as a backup center to Wembanyama.
Well,
but
he probably won't be. They drafted
I think they maybe need somebody to back up Wembanyama that's a little bit more offensively skilled than Luke Cornett. Otherwise, I love Dylan Harper off the bench. I love their starting five. De'Aaron Fox, what do they do with him? He's got a very expensive contract, and they're not exactly pleased. The previous Mr. Clutch was not exactly clutch during these NBA playoffs. So I think they have a situation there they're going to have to figure out as far as DeAndre Fosco. Otherwise, they have their big three with Wembanyama, with Stephon Castle,
De'Aaron
with
Fox.
Dylan Harper coming off the bench. So I think they're good there. I think they could build around those guys for years and years to come. But they've got to
They
figure
had a
out
good
this
draft
De'Aaron
too.
Fox situation. I think they need a backup center that's a little bit more
Well,
offensively
Terrace
skilled
Reed,
than Luke
I guess,
Cornett.
is going to be the guy, the center out of UConn. You
Okay.
know,
Yeah.
is going. You know, he
Sure.
ended up in San Antonio,
Okay. Yeah.
Minnesota.
So I think that addresses that need, but I think the De'Aaron Fox situation is one to watch.
What about Minnesota?
Obviously, who are you going to put in the front court? They sacrificed a lot of size, to bring in LaMelo Ball. So, and for Minnesota, it's a combination of two things. How do they fill out the rest of the roster? How do they build the front court of their starting
They only have
five?
Gobert in the front court right now, really.
Exactly. So they're going to need an offensive skill big in the front court. You had that with Naz Reid. I like Jaden McDaniels. Again, another good big three over there.
Yep.
Ant-Man, LaMelo Ball, Jaden McDaniels, all players. And LaMelo Ball obviously gives them the point guard that they're looking for and can take a little bit of pressure off of Anthony Edwards. So, in theory, it's a very good
Yep.
trade. Will he be healthy? And is he going to play consistently up to the massive potential that LaMelo Ball has as a basketball player? So his health and bolstering the front court with big guys who are offensive skilled more so than Gobert is what they're going to need to address for the remainder of this offseason so that they can compete with Oklahoma City, with
Yep.
Denver, with
And
Oklahoma
don't
City,
forget about
San Antonio,
DiVincenzo.
and the Lakers as well, by the way.
I think if they had DiVincenzo, a sharpshooter like
Mm-hmm.
that, I think that series with San Antonio might have gone differently. And not having Julius
Could
Randle
be.
as your second option.
Yeah, you can never have too many shooters coming off the bench. I mean, I think their
I think
starting five is pretty well set, and they have a good start. They're a pretty deep as well. They can go 9 deep as they
yep,
went into the playoffs as they made their finals run against the Knicks. So,
yep,
but San Antonio looks pretty deep to me already. OKC looks pretty deep to me already. But Minnesota right now looks with the
yep.
trading away Naz Reid. They look a little short in the front court. And then, off the bench, I'm not quite sure who's coming off the bench for them at this particular point, but they, I think, are a couple of players away from being serious contenders in the West, assuming the health and effectiveness of LaMelo Ball.
Okay, Houston. How do you like Houston this year?
Well, Marcus Smart gives them a defensive presence and a toughness. If he could be a little bit better from 3-point shooting range than he was last year, it was 33% with the Lakers. You'd like to get that over 35. But he brings a toughness that I think they're going to need. And you're going to get Fred VanVleet back from injury this offseason. So it's kind of addition by addition, if you will. A guy that was injured for most of last season. You get VanVleet back. They need a closer. It's probably not going to be Kevin Durant. So they need a guy that can carry them to the finish line and can take over a game. Theoretically, VanVleet was brought in for that exact thing. They bring in Kevin Durant. It doesn't work out. Marcus Smart will give them more defensive prowess and a veteran presence that Ime Udoka is going to make great use out of. And Ime Udoka, Marcus Smart have a prior relationship in Boston when Smart was Defensive Player of the Year, so that should work and translate to how the team performs on the court defensively. But ultimately, they need a closer. And can
Agreed.
VanVleet be that guy? We'll see.
Do you like anything that let's quickly get through the rest of the West. Portland, Golden State, Phoenix, maybe Dallas. Any of those
I
teams?
thought Portland was going to trade for Jaylen Brown. We talked
So did
about
I.
here on the pod. He goes to Philadelphia unexpectedly, and I'm sure we'll get into that in a moment. But I think Portland is kind of a good team, a playoff team, but without adding someone like Jaylen Brown, I can't.
What do
I
you
think
think
they're
what their
kind of
owner did to
stuck
the
as a
coach?
mid-level playoff team at best
Uh,
right
what,
now.
what do you think about the whole thing with the owner and the coach in in Portland. Isn't the coach, on 1 year contracts? Didn't
Hmm.
that, you know?
Yeah, like a stability. So I forget who the owner is, but he's watch for Portland potentially moving to another place.
Wow.
I've
Wow.
there's a lot of reports coming
Seattle?
out about things you hear that make you think that maybe an owner wants to take a team out of a certain market.
You
I
think he
have to
wants to go
look
to
a little bit.
Seattle?
I have to look a little bit more into it, but it seems like when the new owner came in, fired everybody, and not necessarily was justified in doing so, picking fights in the market that they currently play in. So I think we have to watch potentially Portland leaving, the Trailblazers leaving Portland potentially, but that's a wait and see kind of situation. But I would have liked them to trade for Jaylen Brown, but ultimately they have a good, young, talented team. I just don't think it's their time just yet. And there's instability in the ownership and front office ranks. So they get into the playoffs last year, which is a great sign, tell you how much great young talent they have.
Yeah.
But it's a wait and see situation of Portland overall. Where their playoff prospects are concerned, I think they're a mid level playoff team at best at this point compared to other teams in the West that they're going to have to go up against.
What about Phoenix or Dallas? And then we'll move to the East.
Phoenix. Well, they traded for Miles Bridges, which
Yeah.
Was it Mikal
Yeah.
Bridges with Phoenix
Yes, he
at one
was.
point? Now,
Yeah,
now
he was
Miles
drafted by
Bridges is
Phoenix, I
following in his
believe.
brother's footsteps over there, so a decent signing. What do they need over there? I mean, they still got Dylan Brooks, who's a tough guy and is a good shooter. They got into the playoffs last year too, but I think they're a lower level. Oh no, they got into the play-in, right? They never got into the
Yeah.
playoff field, but were a
Yeah.
play-in team. I think they're kind of in the same spot right now. I'm not really sure. It depends on how well they did in the draft, and I'm not sure what they did in the draft, to be honest with you. I haven't followed them that closely, but right now they feel like to me a play-in team still, that is, about three players short of being a serious contender in the West, at least. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, and you got to be careful unless there's a LeBron James, coming out in the draft, a Wembenyama. It's tough to count on your rookies, even though Flag had a great year last year, for
Hmm.
for Dallas.
Yeah.
It's tough to count on your rookies to carry the team. You just don't know in the NBA. A lot of coaches are risk averse to giving rookies huge minutes in crunch time.
Hmm.
Um, we talked about Quentin Grimes. God, Quentin Grimes was a great player. He was a Knick. He was drafted by the Knicks.
Yeah.
His brother is actually a professional hockey player for the Vancouver Canucks. I don't know if you knew that. His last name isn't Grimes. I forget who he is,
No
but
kidding. Hmm.
yeah, his brother plays, or at least he did play for the Vancouver
A
Canucks.
hockey player and a
Yes,
professional hockey and
yeah,
basketball
I think
player in
they're
the
half
same
brothers.
family.
Yes, I think they're
That's
half
amazing.
brothers. You know, um, Grimes came out of, I believe, Arizona. I think that's where Grimes went to college.
Hmm. Yeah,
Um,
I think you're right.
but
I need to look up his bio. Any Lakers player that comes in, I'll typically look up their bio and go,
well, yeah,
okay, yeah.
well,
I
you
see,
mentioned
I
that.
see, I
Well,
see, I see the thinking behind signing a
Carr
player
was a
like
Knick for
that.
4 days too.
Hmm.
Technically. Um,
The trivia question you left me on the phone yesterday. I'm sorry I did respond, but the message never got delivered because I was
yeah,
in Newport Beach and didn't have a
that's
signal
fine.
whatsoever. But
And
I didn't know the answer to that question
the
actually.
answer
But
was
that's a
Derrick
lot.
Rose.
Huh?
Derrick Rose was the answer.
Derrick Rose was the answer?
Yes, it
Wow.
was.
I
I
didn't
didn't
know it.
get it
I knew he
either.
bounced around. I didn't know he bounced around that much.
Yeah, that the
Holy
answer was
moly.
Derrick Rose.
Wasn't he an MVP with
Yeah, in
Chicago
Chicago. Then he went to the Knicks, and
before
then
LeBron James shut him down in the Eastern
yep,
Conference final when he was with
yeah.
Miami?
The answer was Derrick Rose.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
but I digress. So we've covered the West. Your Lakers should be a top
Oh,
four seed
Dallas. You
out
asked
there.
me about Dallas and
Dallas, yeah,
The Dusty May hiring. Very intriguing. So I think Dusty May and Cooper Flag give them a foundation they can build off of. But as Dallas, and I don't know what Kyrie Irving's status is. He's not getting any younger, but Dallas doesn't feel like a playoff team right now, but I think eventually they will be.
yep. Okay, let's move out east. We've already talked about the Knicks. We know what the Knicks are. They're pretty much running it back. Huge for them to re-sign Landry Shamet. Landry Shamet actually took less
4
money.
years, 24 million. What a team friendly deal
You,
that is.
he took a lot less money to come back. There
Oh
were teams
yeah.
banging down his door, and he
Very
chose to come
fortunate for
back to the
Leon.
Knicks. So huge, huge for the Knicks.
Hmm.
We did lose Mitchell Robinson. We brought in Drummond, who grew up a Knicks fan. He's from, I want to say he's from Mount
Drummond
New
is going to
York.
play the Mitchell Robinson role to a T, pretty much, I would say.
Yeah, I don't think the Knicks are done. I think there's one or two more pieces coming. They're not going to be
Hmm.
knock your socks off type pieces because they don't have the draft capital or
Yeah.
the
And
or
Jose
the
Alvarado's coming back too, isn't he?
Alvarado's coming back.
That's good. Yeah. You said they're going to
Shamet's
lose
coming
Jordan
back.
Clarkson. You said they're going
Uh,
to lose Jordan Clarkson.
you know what? With the deal Drummond signed, they actually have enough money to potentially to bring Clarkson back.
That'd be good.
Um, you know,
Great shooter off
so
the bench.
yeah, to be your number three center, really. At least he could be. But we've discussed the Knicks at length, so we're going to leave them to the side. Let's talk about the other teams in the East. Let's start with the real home run hitter thus far, Philly. What do you see out of and to not give up Edgecombe or Maxey in that trade? I think
Yeah, no, I am.
I don't know what the hell the Boston Celtics or Brad Stevens are
I
doing, but we'll get to them in a minute. What
Well,
do
you
you
know
think
what?
about Philly?
You might find this interesting. I'm actually going to defend Boston, and it's related to the Clippers trade with Toronto with Kawhi Leonard, which I'm sure we'll
Yep.
get into. Initially, my reaction is the backcourt of Philadelphia is pretty well set.
Yep.
Tyrese Maxey, Jaylen Brown, you got Edgemore,
Edgecombe.
I'm sorry, Edgecombe, excuse me. Obviously, they got to figure out Joel Embiid,
Yep.
who's a phenomenal player, but he cannot stay healthy.
Yep.
And but I think Philadelphia has a foundation that Nick Nurse can work with, who's a very good head coach who led Toronto to the 2019 NBA
Yep.
championship with Kyle Lowry, Kawhi Leonard, and Pascal Siakam, and a friend of yours, OG Anunoby, on that particular team. So he's a
Yes. Even though
championship
he
coach.
didn't play in those finals, he was hurt.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but
So I think
what
initially
what 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 do you
Philadelphia
expect out
shored
of
up the
Philly this year?
backcourt, but they obviously have to figure out what they're going to do with Embiid going forward.
How do you like Philly in the East this year?
Mid-level playoff team at this point. Obviously, if they're going to go farther, then they're kind of the second round Sixers. They don't get any further than the second round, seemingly,
Yep.
in the Joel Embiid era. No matter who the head coach is, no matter what the process is, if you'll pardon me, but I don't feel like Philadelphia is a serious contender in the East. But I think if they could somehow build a front
Yep.
court that is healthy to complement what should be a dynamic and very productive backcourt, they're on their way to maybe being more competitive and going deeper in the Eastern Conference playoff
Yep.
than they have in years.
Now let's weave in LeBron to this whole fabric here. Does
LeBron,
LeBron, where that's a potential landing spot for LeBron
mm-hmm.
James? Does LeBron bring them next level, and does LeBron
Good.
potentially make them the favorites in the East?
I don't know if he makes it the favorite in the East, but I think if you're having issues with Embiid, you've still got scoring that you can get to. You've got four reliable scorers. Ultimately, Maxey, Brown, Edgecombe. You bring in LeBron, who's still a 20-plus point guy, seven rebounds, 7 assists type of guy. Not all the pressure's on him ultimately. That's probably mostly going to be on Jaylen Brown, but and Tyrese Maxey to a degree. But I think LeBron James, if they sign him, they could be an Eastern Conference Final team next season, especially if Embiid is healthy enough, giving them four all-star players, some superstars
Yep.
on top of that. That would make them very formidable in the Atlantic Division alone, much less the Eastern
Yep.
Conference.
All right, let's continue on in the East. Indiana. Halliburton's coming
Well,
back.
Tyrese Halliburton has to come back. I think they need help at center. I like their depth coming off the bench. I love Siakam. I love Nemhard. But really, Tyrese Halliburton coming back healthy, and who is kind of manning the middle now that they don't have Miles Turner. So I think Indiana's a playoff team, assuming Halliburton's health. How deep can they go? We'll see. But they made a surprise run a couple of years ago. They're not going to surprise anybody now. But
Yep.
Halliburton has to come back, and if they do, they're a playoff team, and then we'll see.
Yep. Sticking out in the Midwest, so to speak. Let's go to Detroit.
They still need a second scorer behind Cade Cunningham. They're bringing back Jalen Duren on a really big deal. So they have kind of their foundational pieces with Cade Cunningham and with Jalen Duren, but they still need to bring in a reliable second scorer. Austin Reeves might
Who
have
is
been
that?
that guy
Is it DeRozan?
for
Who
Detroit.
goes there? You know,
Maybe DeRozan. Uh,
you know.
For DeRozan, that situation might make more sense than the Lakers right now, to be honest with you. I'm pretty sure Detroit has a mid-level exception they could go to. I don't know if the contract extension for Duren puts them into any aprons or not, but I don't think they are there. And assuming not, I think DeMar DeRozan makes a lot of sense for that team. He would be the second scorer that they're looking for to take a little bit of pressure off of Cade Cunningham. You still have Duren, and you still have a team that had the best record in the Eastern Conference last year. So, but without a second scorer, I don't know if they're going to be a number one seed in the Eastern Conference after this particular regular season, like they were last season. So, but adding a second scorer, they have a
I don't think
chance
they
to
can
do that
score enough.
again and
I
to
really
learn
don't.
from this playoff experience.
They can't score enough to hang with the Knicks. They can't score enough to hang with the Sixers.
No,
There might be, I'm not sure they have enough
maybe
scoring
even
to hang with
Indiana.
Cleveland.
Yeah,
Speaking of Cleveland, how do we like Cleveland going into next year? It
with
looks like
Harden,
they're pretty much running it back.
with Harden, I don't. I love Donovan Mitchell. I think very highly of Jared Allen, but
Evan Mobley, who has been
Evan Mobley,
misused,
who might have, who could have been in the trade to Boston for Jaylen Brown. That actually probably would have been a better trade for Boston to make, maybe.
Yep.
I've Cleveland right now feels like they're a playoff team, but they feel like they're kind of in playoff purgatory and that they're a mid-level playoff team at
Yep.
best. Basically, bringing back the same team that they've had this season.
Once again, let's weave in LeBron James because that is also a possibility. What does LeBron James do for the Cleveland Cavaliers?
That would be next level for Cleveland.
Where does that rank in the
That could put
East?
them back in the Eastern Conference Finals and potentially help them win it because he'll bring in experience, he'll bring in toughness, he'll bring in still the James Harden aspect, though. Can you imagine a team with Donovan Mitchell, James Harden, and LeBron James?
I can't imagine the team with. I can imagine the team with Donovan Mitchell and LeBron James
I'd rather have
having a
LeBron
tough
James
time weaving in
instead of
Harden
James
into that
Harden.
mix because I don't know if LeBron would stand for some of the things James Harden does on the basketball court or doesn't do.
Maybe playing with a player like LeBron James. He played with Kevin Durant, who's not a leader, and Kyrie Irving is not a leader either.
Yep.
Maybe LeBron James is the type of player that, has James Harden not disappearing later in playoff series. Who knows?
And I honestly think
It's just
that's a
odd
little.
to imagine, but potentially if you sign LeBron James, you could get back to the Eastern Conference Finals again. And potentially, that being said, for Cleveland, things kind of shook out in the way. Boston goes down, Detroit goes down in the earlier rounds. The Knicks and the Cleveland Cavaliers, you're not really surprised that the Knicks made it there since they made it there the previous season. So that wasn't much of a surprise to me. But I think Cleveland gets the Eastern Conference Finals only because Detroit and Boston were eliminated in earlier rounds, and theoretically they were better than Cleveland. It's just things kind of worked out for Cleveland. I'm not sure that's how it goes this time. So if you bring LeBron James in, potentially you could get back there and earn your way back there. You don't need fortune to smile upon you per se, like maybe what happened in these last playoffs.
Yep.
But the James Harden, LeBron James dynamic will be one to watch.
Yep. Moving. Let's go up to Boston. I don't like what Boston's done. Now there's rumors that Tatum's not happy. So I don't see how this Boston team competes in the East. I mean, Mitch Robinson is your biggest, Mitch Robinson for what he does it very well, but he's offensively limited. He's a great defender. He's always hurt. If not for Anthony Davis, he'd be the most hurt center in the league. What do you think's going on with Boston?
Here's where I'll defend Boston's trade, and then I'll tell you what I project in the next season. The trade they made with Philadelphia, Paul George, 2 firsts, 2 seconds.
Yep.
Same exact trade with Kawhi Leonard.
Yep.
Right? And Paul George, no slouch as a player. I mean, mind you, he's got injury issues, but he's no slouch as a player all the way. He has been an all-star. He's a very good NBA player. Kawhi Leonard is a great player. Hall of Fame player, champion, 2-time MVP of the NBA Finals and all of that stuff. But it's the same exact trade. Yet Everyone's lauding the Clippers for what they got for Kawhi Leonard, but everyone's criticizing Philadelphia or Boston for what they got for Jaylen Brown. It's the same exact trade. So if you're going to criticize one team, I think you got to criticize the Clippers as well. They gave up Kawhi Leonard, but everyone thinks it was a great move by the Clippers, but everyone doesn't think it was a good move by Boston. I think either both teams deserve a little bit of credit or both teams deserve a little bit of criticism, not one or the other. So that's how I'm defending Boston because it was basically it was one established star player, two first round picks, two second round picks, same exact deals.
Yep.
That said, Boston has essentially screwed themselves because Mitchell Robinson is not going
It's
to
Tatum
help
and
you
Paul
out.
George.
I mean, obviously, you
You
got
know,
Peyton Pritchard, you got Derek White, you got Jason Tatum. If he's not happy, that's obviously a situation to watch. But it's not like
and
he's going
now
to
Paul
go out and
George.
embarrass. It's not like he's going to go out and embarrass himself. It's his team now. Jaylen
Yep.
Brown wants to have his own team, and he could have that in Philadelphia, I suppose, with Maxey and Embiid still there. But he's got his own team now. In theory, it's Jason Tatum's team now. He might not be happy, but he's going to have to make it work because he's not going anywhere. He's under contract. No one's going to trade for that contract. He's got to come back healthy next season and stay healthy. That might be the biggest pressure is making sure you stay healthy because if he does it, you are screwed 8 ways from Sunday in Boston without
Yep.
him because you don't have Jaylen Brown anymore doing what he did for Boston this past season, leading them to the number 2 seed in the East.
Yep. How
So
does Paul George work in?
but I think Boston in the short term, you can't take them seriously as a finals contender. This is not the team that won the championship a couple of years ago. This is a vastly different team. And we're just going to have to see if Tatum is healthy and, how the other players, how the team comes together post Jaylen Brown and adding Mitchell Robinson, who's not going to help you offensively, but will give you the tough, gritty play in the middle that you can benefit from at least.
Yeah. Let's go north of the border, Toronto.
I like what they did. I mean, I think if Kawhi Leonard is healthy, they were a playoff team last year too. Could they be a top 4 team in the Eastern Conference next year? I could see that if Kawhi Leonard is healthy. Now that's a big if because when was the last time Kawhi Leonard had back-to-back seasons of being healthy? He was healthy this season. He was healthy a couple of years ago. Then the season that followed both of those, not so much. So obviously he's going to have to stay healthy. But ultimately, you had a superstar, a proven winner and they were a playoff team last year. They could get up to a top 4 seed, with a team like Orlando and Paolo Banchero down there in Orlando. So
we'll get to Orlando.
it's definitely an upgrade as far as that's concerned. If Kawhi Leonard is healthy, and potentially a top 4 team in the East.
Okay. Let's move to is Washington ready for the big lights?
Not quite, but I like what they're going in the right direction. They have Trae Young, they have AJ DeBonsa, they'll have Anthony Davis as long as he can stay healthy.
Yeah.
And now they have DeAndre Ayton, who, could be a good offensive center, maybe coming off the bench. But you're going to have to engage it, which is why I think they should bring him off the bench because I think he wants to be an offensive focal point. If you start him with Trae Young, with AJ DeBonsa, with Anthony Davis, there's only so many shots that could go around. So I think bringing Ayton off the bench might be a good idea. He could be an offensive focus. He'll be offensive focus, and he'll be engaged because you're getting him the ball, which is something that he's going to want. Otherwise, he kind of checks out, as we saw him do with the Lakers numerous times. So I think they're building something there with those 4 guys, but I don't think they'll be a playoff team next season now.
An interesting team next year that not a lot of people are talking, the Atlanta Hawks. What do we think of the Hawks next year?
Not sure what to make of them, actually. John Collins just left.
Yep.
I believe. And Jonathan Kuminga is going to be on his way out as well. So I don't have much of a read on the Hawks. I'm going to defer to you on this one. What do you think about them?
I think I really
they lost in the first round to your Knicks, but I think they're getting
they ended
worse.
up giving the Knicks the best fight.
Yeah, but you gave up. You're losing 2 players that were part of that. So
true. I do like Quinn Snyder as a coach. I think Quinn Snyder, as much as I make fun of that he looks like a proctologist on the sidelines, he's a great coach.
He gets the best out of whatever players he has.
He's
very good at squeezing whatever juice that there is in a player. Now, he might not have the players, but he gets everything out of the players that he has.
Yep. Let's go to Florida. Let's start with let's go north to south. Let's start with Orlando.
I like that team. Young, talented, deep.
Wagner, they had
They
Montero.
just can't seem to get out of their own way. I mean, Wagner is a great player. Paulo Banchero is a great player. I, they just can't seem to get out of their way. I mean, they should be a top four team, or in the East right now, and going deeper than they have. So,
Do you like their hire at head coach?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I did like them fire the previous coach, but ultimately that may be the key is getting them to another level. Is they're going to bring in a coach that is going to coach them a little bit harder, squeeze a little bit more juice out of them.
Yep.
Ultimately, that might be the key. But that's a very talented team in Orlando,
Yep.
no question about it. They
I
just
don't
haven't
like
put
their
it together
hire.
in the playoffs.
And this is nothing against the kid that came from San Antonio and went to Orlando. I think that team really needed a seasoned head coach, whether it be Donovan or Thibodeau. I think that would be more
Yeah,
what I would be looking.
Sean Sweeney is his name. So
Yeah,
associate head coach at San Antonio. So
right. So I mean, he'll bring the
certainly
San
coming
Antonio.
from a very good organization that is known, coaches that come out of the San Antonio coaching tree have generally done
Yep,
well in the
Mike
NBA.
Brown.
A la your guy Mike Brown, by the way, one of those
Yep,
guys.
yep. He came out of both. He came out of San Antonio and Golden State.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so
So
okay,
I think Sean Sweetie. Yeah, to me, they just gotta, the talent is there. They just gotta put it together in the playoffs.
and finally, let's go to Miami.
Well, do they bring in LeBron James or not? That's
Well,
the
that was
question.
my next question. Once again weave LeBron James into that lineup. Let's say that let's as currently constituted. What do you think of Miami? Then we'll weave in
LeBron
LeBron
James will
James.
give a here's something that LeBron James will do very well that Miami could benefit from. You bring in Giannis Antetokounmpo. Have you seen his strides on a court? He's got the longest strides of a player I've ever seen.
Yeah,
Like he is just a thoroughbred out there, a gazelle, just long strides, just running on the court and making it look easy. LeBron James, same type of player, great in the open court, can help you in the half court, can make shots. He's got the step back, he's got the 3-point shot. He can still get to the basket. He's still a freight train coming at you down the lane. But he's great in the fast court. So if you could bring in LeBron James with Giannis Antetokounmpo, who you hope is healthy, and Bam Adebayo kind of rounding it out. Miami's a playoff team. They're well coached by Eric Spoelstra. You still have Davion, what was his name? Davion Mitchell
yep.
down there is a great on-point defender, very good shooter as well. So LeBron James makes Miami a contender in the East and opens things up for Miami's offense, which I think they could benefit from with some of the younger teams in the East because you got guys like Giannis Antetokounmpo and LeBron James who are great in the open court with what they could do in that type of a situation, combined with Bam Adebayo, Davion Mitchell, the coaching of Eric Spoelstra. If they don't sign LeBron, though, I don't know if they're a playoff team next year unless Giannis Antetokounmpo is healthy and goes off at an MVP
Yep.
level.
Well, that's just it. Without LeBron, I don't like Miami's depth. I don't think that they're deep enough. I think LeBron makes them better. But again, LeBron is not a 75 game a year player either, nor is Giannis
True.
recently.
There'll be some low managing down in
So,
Miami to be
so
sure.
I really have to wonder, it would be a very veteran team down there. Bam's certainly a veteran. Um, I wonder if they're deep enough to compensate, even if LeBron goes there when LeBron's not playing or Giannis is hurt. He's had a lot of soft tissue, lower body injuries the last
Yeah,
couple of years.
groin and
I question Miami's depth. I really do. I mean, Spoelstra's
yeah.
a Hall of Fame coach. We
That
know that.
is that is very, very fair. And you would think Pat Riley, who understands the value of depth from his Laker and Knick days, would
Yep.
understand that. But he's trying. I think Pat Riley is kind of on his way out. I think this is kind of a last hurrah for him. If he brings back LeBron, the old "I'm gonna leave the keys under the map for you if you want to come back," and they kiss and make up and reunite down there in Miami. I think this is a last hurrah, kind of a last act for Pat Riley.
And last, and certainly not least, as you can see the banner above me, I'm not going to mention anything about them because I'm a fan. The Knicks for next year.
I mean, you have continuity. Coach, star player, second star player. Drummond is a perfect replacement for Mitchell Robinson, as far as I'm concerned. They're pretty much identical. You get back Jose Alvarado. You get back Landry
Landry
Shamet
Shamet.
on a very team friendly deal.
Yep.
You still have Mikal Bridges. You still have Josh Hart. I mean, let's
There's
face it,
rumors. I don't know if it's going to be true.
they have a chance. Now, mind you, we'll see what happens out west. But can they get back to the finals next year coming out of the East? Absolutely. They have continuity. They know what it takes. And I suspect they're still going to be hungry.
Yeah, I think so too. And there's rumors out there that Cat, when he signs his extension, might leave money on the table, a la Jalen Brunson, so they could afford to continue to build in New York.
Yeah,
He,
I think a another center, a backup center, and I don't know if they need help on the wings. I think they got plenty of wing players, forwards and guards and whatnot. So I think a little bit more front court help, I would say, to replace what Mitchell Robinson brings to the table.
yep.
Young, athletic, can score. Maybe a backup center. I don't think they need a whole lot down up there at the Madhouse on Madison. So
Uh, well, that was the Forum. 7th and 33rd is the Garden.
I'm
Uh,
sorry.
the Forum was
No,
on
actually, oh yeah, I'm sorry. I keep saying
Madison was the Great Western Forum, I
yeah,
believe.
yeah. No, actually, Madison. No, the Forum's on Prairie. The Madhouse on Prairie, or what do they call it? I forget.
Manchester, I thought one of them,
Well,
whatever.
Manchester, the Madhouse on Manchester. There you go. Manchester and Prairie Avenue is where the Forum is located. So
So early,
my mistake.
you
I'll
know,
take a penalty point on that one.
so I'll put you. We're not going to, prognostic. There's still a lot to be done. We don't know how these teams will gel. We don't know health.
It's
Quick,
not done as if I
yeah,
think we're done with big trades, big
yep.
swing trades, but I think there's still free agency signings to come. That
Who are
should be
who are
interesting.
your final four in the West?
Final
In no
four in the
particular
West.
order. In the West, who are the last four standing in the West?
OKC, San Antonio,
Yep,
Lakers.
yep.
Hmm.
Now let's weave LeBron into Golden
You
State.
know what? You know what?
Let's put LeBron in Golden State because that's
Nope,
a rumor too.
nope, nope.
No,
It's going to be very top heavy over up there in San Francisco with him. They're
yeah,
not going to have a lot around him, so no, not going there. I'll say Minnesota, depending on how they round out the rest of the. This is projection. I could be wrong,
yep.
but Minnesota, if they fill out the rest of the roster right, they feel like they should be a top four team in the West. So I'll say OKC, San Antonio, Lakers, Minnesota. I'm
Okay,
not going Golden State. I think they're too old. I think they'll be top heavy, not enough depth.
okay. Out east, who are your final four?
Knicks. Let's see.
Is Philly in there?
Maybe. Assuming okay, I'll put Philly in if Embiid is healthy.
Okay.
Big if. I hate that kind of
Let's
uncertainty.
just, let's right now
Let's
assume
let's let's
overall health going into
let's
the
the
playoffs.
yeah, the Knicks are definitely in there. Let's say Detroit. I think Detroit's going to be better. I'll put them in there as well. Detroit will learn from their experience. They'll get a second scorer. They'll go a little bit deeper this year. So I'll say Knicks, Detroit. I'll put
Philly.
Philly in there with caution. And
Now,
who is the fourth team? It's
is
not
it
going to be
Indiana?
Boston.
Is it Boston? Is it Miami? Is it
If
Orlando?
Miami gets LeBron, maybe.
Is it Orlando?
They
Fourth
might be
team.
top heavy as well, actually. But um, what about Indiana?
What about Toronto?
Toronto too? Orlando?
Yep.
You know what? I'm going to roll the dice, and I'm. Oh God, I would. They don't have. Who's a center in Indiana right now? Because Miles Turner left. I wish they kept him. That would make it easier for me to
I'd
say
have to look it
Indiana.
up. It
Okay,
Indiana hasn't been
okay.
relevant.
I'm gonna go with this, but I have the right to change my mind at some point.
Well, it's early.
New York, Detroit, Philadelphia, Toronto. What about
Okay.
you? What about you?
I would say New York, Philly. Um, Again, Cleveland changes the dynamic with LeBron James. I don't know how well him and Harden would mix. I'm not gonna put Detroit in there because they do need a second scorer.
By the way, I'm assuming Kawhi Leonard's going to be healthy too, because obviously for Toronto to be a Final Four team,
I'm gonna say
that's
the
going to have to
Knicks.
be the case.
Yeah, I'm gonna say the
They'll load
Knicks,
manage him.
the Knicks, the Pacers, um, the Sixers, and God, I can go a bunch of different ways. I'm gonna say Orlando.
Orlando. Okay, fair enough.
Yep. Yep.
You know what? It feels like the top two teams are fairly easy, but the rest, it's
Yeah,
kind of a
it
hodge.
gets harder,
It's kind of a
and
hodgepodge of
we
these.
can't.
You can see that in the West too, actually.
Yep, we really
Um,
can.
I think
But
the league. I think the league is as deep as it's been in terms of the number of teams that can win a championship in each conference. So I mean, look what the Knicks did this year.
yep,
So it's a deeper league. There's much more parity than we've ever seen
yep.
in the NBA, kind of like the NFL. So.
And I know you have time
Um,
constraints today, so yeah.
man crush and knucklehead of the week. Great job on doing rapid fire in the NBA. Actually, how did I do?
Well, it was admittedly, you know more about day to day of most teams than I do. I'm a Knicks fan. Basketball of the Big Four is my fourth favorite sport, at least on the professional level. So, which is why I wanted to do it that way. You're more of an encyclopedia, much more of an encyclopedia when it comes to day and who teams got, and which is why I kind of wanted to do it that way instead of more give and take. And as usual, you knocked it out of the park. Um,
I
but
appreciate that.
man crushing knucklehead of the week. Um, I'm going to go with knucklehead first, and my knucklehead of the week is Stephen A. Smith. Uh,
Yeah,
he,
you know
he had
what?
some
I'm gonna
comments
go to my
about.
back. I'm gonna go to my backup, but that really pissed me. Anyways, go ahead. I
You
know
can
what
use
you're
the same
talking
one
about.
because what I think he did, and you don't even have you had people like Jeff Teague and Emmanuel Acho calling him out. You know, he was the same guy, rightfully so, when it was said that a black quarterback, when was the last time a black quarterback could lead a championship team in
You remember
football?
Rush Limbaugh when he was
Yeah,
on an
yeah,
NFL studio show?
yep, yep.
Oh my Lord,
Um,
Donovan McNabb.
the late, not so great Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah,
Um, but I don't even think I have to get into it. What he said and how he said it about the Lakers, you can question whether the Lakers are good enough to come out of the West. I think that's a fair question to ask. Even
sure,
I think you'd ask that question. Are they good enough?
absolutely, absolutely.
The way he
I have no
phrased it,
issue if it's basketball related, but
you know,
this went beyond it.
you know, there's no reason to bring in the fact that the Lakers have a lot of white players. Well, the Celtics won a bunch of championships with a lot of white players.
Well,
And
he didn't even bring that up.
no,
I mean, their top two players were Larry Bird and Kevin McHale.
yep.
Danny Ainge
So
was also a pretty good player for them, as you may recall.
yep. I mean, I think the big three. I think it was counting Dennis Johnson and Robert Parrish in there, but
Well,
whatever.
yeah, and
But
Dennis Johnson, Robert Parrish, African American, but still not the most athletic team you ever saw. But
yep.
this Laker team actually, well, I think there's more athleticism with this Laker team than people might realize right
But
now,
Stephen
including
A.
Stephen A. Smith.
Stephen A. The guy's a fraud. Let's just call it what it is. The guy's a fraud, and not just because of this stupid comment that he made.
Heck of a well paid one.
Well, there's a lot of heck of
You have
well-paid
to get,
frauds out there.
and he's on a lot of different shows politically, and he used to be at General Hospital. I
Yeah.
mean, he's made a name for himself, but
Well,
I'm not sure I like
that
the way
doesn't
that he's gone about doing
that doesn't
so.
mean.
But
I mean, he inserts himself. I mean, this whole Lakers comment aside, which is as dumb and as quite frankly as racist as can be.
yep,
He picks fights with players. He has this thing with
Kevin
Jaylen Brown.
Durant.
He had the thing with Kevin Durant. He runs
Hmm.
hot and cold with LeBron James. I
Yep.
mean, the guy makes himself part of this. He might be very well paid, but I think he's a fraud. I really do.
Yeah. I I'm with you on that one. Who's your man crush of the week?
Oh God, man crush of the week. You know what? Um, until proven otherwise, especially with losing their star player, the U.S. men's national soccer team is my man crush of the week. That they had to play with 10 players against a very game Bosnia team. Still ended up winning the game. Say what you want about that red card and stuff like that, which most I don't follow soccer enough to know if that warranted a red card. So I'm not going to pretend to. But I think what they've done, I think if they go out and beat Belgium on Monday night in Seattle, that's even bigger. But I'll put the U.S. men's national team as my man crush of the week.
That's a good one. My man crush of the week, Jordan Walker of the St. Louis Cardinals. I happened to watch, Saturday Night Baseball on Fox last night at Norm's place, and Jordan Walker of the Cardinals putting together a season where he's had 19 home runs and 64 RBIs. Putting together a very good season, a great story of persistence. a
Yep.
guy who is not thought of much, but has really stepped up here to become the Cardinals' best player and made his first All-Star team.
Yep.
That was a very emotional situation for him, for Oliver Marmol, the manager of the Cardinals, along with the
Yep.
rest of his Cardinals teammates. So a great story of redemption, a heck of a player, and I like what I see from him in the outfield last night in the fog at Wrigley Field. My God,
Yep.
that it looked like San Francisco or London over there in Chicago for last night's game.
Yeah.
They had a fog stoppage after a rain delay delayed the start of the game. Two weather stop related stoppages in one game. I'm not sure I've ever seen that, but Jordan Walker, an outstanding representative of the Cardinals, a redemption story, and a great player. He's my man crush of the week. My knucklehead of the week, Stephen A. Smith, obviously just ignorant, not to mention he's a big NBA guy, not even bringing up Boston in his rant. You might be right, he's a fraud because he should know that being a Jordan guy coming from that era. He should have mentioned them right off the bat that there is a precedent for teams being successful in the NBA who might not look like your typical NBA team or what we're accustomed to, but that doesn't really matter. A professional basketball player is a professional basketball player. Stephen A.
Right.
Smith needs to remember that, and ESPN needs to hold him more accountable. He's been suspended before for inflammatory things he said on the air. I hope he was dealt with in this particular
Well,
situation.
he,
Otherwise,
he
it's
he
a
doubled
Disney
down on it.
stockholder. He doubled down, and
Yep.
ESPN has done
Because
nothing.
yep, he doubled down on it. So
Frickin' frickin' Disney.
you know,
I'm pissed off about that.
yeah. I mean, I think what he said reeked of ignorance. It really did.
Yeah, it
So
did. But also the official that threw out in the game against Bosnia between the U.S. and Bosnia,
yep.
Folarin Balogun, who was given a yellow card for accidentally
Red
letting a
red
stint on the
card.
ankle of a Bosnia defender, Karik Muharemovic. And then they changed it to a red card after looking at him. I think they were looking at reacted to the severity of the injury, but there was no intent from what I could tell. I think it was completely accidental and unfortunate from what I looked at. They upgraded to a red card, costing the U.S. one of their best players in a match against Belgium, a team that has had their way with the U.S. of late. So my knuckle of the week is the officiating crew, along with Stephen A. Smith, the officiating crew for the U.S. men's national team against Bosnia in the previous match. Final comments. You're up.
Congratulations to even though for whatever reason because he didn't deserve it. Congratulations to Ben Rice, Cam Schlittler, Cody Bellinger, and there was one more All Star from the. Oh, Judge was voted in, but obviously he won't be playing. Um,
Amazing.
Cam Schlittler might very well start for the American League for the All Star game. Very well deserved, even though his last couple of outings have been subpar. But that happens. Ben Rice now might get the start at first base since Vlad, even though he was voted in, is not taking part in the All Star game this year in Philadelphia, I believe it is. I believe
I don't think that was accidental that in the 250th year of the United States being a sovereign nation, that the All-Star game is in the first
the
national
first capital of the
capital
country.
of the country. Yeah, so I don't think that was
Yep.
accidental. So yes, it's
You
in
know.
Philadelphia.
So congrats to Bellinger. Judge is hurt, and we won't even. I'm not going to talk about the overall state of the Yankees, but congrats to two Boston guys, Ben Rice and Cam Schlittler, lifelong Red Sox fans. Grew up in the area. Rice played at Dartmouth. Schlittler played at Northeastern. Um, Coming on to be two of the biggest faces for the New York Yankees this year, and they both very well may start the All Star game this year. So congrats to both Bostonians wearing the pinstripes of New York.
There's some good young talent on this New York Yankees, some bad young talent as well. Jack, you mentioned you won't talk about the Yankees situation. I will. You know how I posed on previous shows the question, will the real Yankees please stand up? I think the real Yankees have stood up. Let's look at what
Yeah,
they've been the
injured.
last few seasons. They start out strong, March, April, they build up wins, they pad wins. Then they go into the June swoon. They come out of it. Aaron Boone is lauded. Well, he got them out of it while also putting into it to a degree. Then Brian Cashman makes a couple of trades at the trade deadline, giving Yankee fans hope. And then, save for a Juan Soto season where they finally got to the World Series, only to lose to the Dodgers, predictably, they lose in the late division series. in the
Yep.
second round, the division series, after you have the wild card and before the league championship series. They lose there. And then guys like us call for the firing of Brian Cashman and Aaron Boone, but they don't do it because that's not what the Yankees do under Sal Steinbrenner. They keep running back the same thing over and over again. They are insane, making their fans insane. It's
Yep.
every single year. So that's how the rest of the season is going to play out. The
Yep.
Yankees, they'll come out of this swoon. They'll win some more games.
They might go
Maybe
back to
they'll win
work because
the
they're
maybe
still,
they'll win the
even
division.
now, they're still the best team in the American League.
I
They're not
know, but
playing like it.
that doesn't say very much about the American League
No, well, the
when you
American
think
League's
about
terrible.
it. So yes,
You
will they
know,
get to the World Series? Maybe. Will they win the World Series when they get there? Probably not. I don't know if they're going to get there. Let's see
yeah.
what they do at the trade deadline.
Well,
They
that's
need
that's
help
just
at
it.
shortstop. They need
They need
help
help
in
at
left
third base.
field. They need help at
They need
third
a
base.
bullpen. They
They
need a
need help
catcher.
at catcher. They need bullpen up. Can they address all of those things during the trade deadline? Like I said, they'll come out of the swoon. They'll make a couple of trades. They'll give us hope. They'll get into the postseason, and they'll lose again, and they won't make any changes in the offseason. The real Yankees have stood up, and no one will tell me otherwise until I see otherwise.
Fair
And
enough.
that will wrap up this edition of the Living Room Podcast, a Die Hard Sports Radio production. For Jack Angelo, I'm Steve Itzkowitz, a.k.a. Speakeasy Steve, reminding you that every sporting event is time well spent. Hope everyone had a happy 4th of July and a safe one as well. We will talk to you next week. More about baseball and seeing what else happens in NBA free agency this week. And football is right around the corner. Go Team USA against
Indeed.
Belgium tomorrow night.